Hey there, Cheesemeisters. Welcome to the Peach Pod. That would have been Summertime by the Trogs. Not any summertime song I've ever heard. It's very, I don't know, it was kind of dark and emo summertime song. Like, you
Yeah,
almost expected to
definitely.
hear it at David's grandparents' house with Tuesday
Like it was
instead
definitely
of,
my kind of summertime song because I love "Summertime Sadness" by Lana Del Rey.
there you go.
But it's and I mean, the one in Porg Game Best is also a bit sad. Um,
That's true.
so I just like
I
sad
like that
summer.
song now. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, they
Nope.
certainly put one to good use here. So, uh, as I say, welcome to the Peach Pod. I am Jeff, and what can I say? It's great to be young. I wish they were all California girls. You know what I'm saying? And joining me on the other end of the internet, my host.
I'm Leslie, and I'm the third best oral surgeon in LA.
And who are the first two?
Well, if you're not a celebrity, then it doesn't matter.
Fair. All right. Well, it's
That wasn't even
not.
what I was gonna do, but that was last minute, and I went with it.
No, that's good. I think anytime you can go with Mel Silver DDS, I think that's a good call.
DDS.
At least for today, when Mel is just a guy. So, so we're going to be talking this week about season 2, episode 5, Play It Again, David. Original air date August 8th, 1991.
Yep, there she is.
And a little dog Ember.
We're good now. We're good.
Perfect. So, before we jump with 2 feet into the Jackie and Mel of it all, is there anything that we missed from last week's episode, Anaconda?
No, there's not.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I had looked up the rules to Anaconda just because I thought maybe that would be interesting. But it's basically just pass the trash, if you ever played that. Like,
Nope.
you pass, like, your 3 worst cards. You pass 3 cards to, like, the person to the left of you or something, and then you bet, and I don't know. I think he's right. I think it's heinous. So, it's not a game I think that would be worth playing. But,
And yet
they
they
played it.
named an episode.
They named a whole episode about it. Speaking of naming episodes, this one is named after a misquote of Casablanca.
Yes.
And this episode has nothing at all to do with Casablanca, except for that at the very end, David does a bogey impression.
A bad one.
Oh, a terrible one. Yeah. But I don't understand why this episode title. It makes no sense at all.
It doesn't. I'm still confused by it. Thankfully, the rest of the episode makes up for it. But yeah, the weird Casablanca connection was tired, and they didn't even really go for it.
No, and I was watching again because I was thinking, well, maybe they're gonna like do a whole lot of references to old movies in this episode, and because they did have the From Here to Eternity of it all, they have the or Airplane, whichever way you want to go with that reference. I prefer the Airplane version, but then there weren't really any others. Like, Brandon makes a reference to Company, but that's not an old movie.
Just one of my favorite shows.
Yeah. Have you seen the making of movie, the making of the cast album?
I haven't had. I'm afraid I avoid watching things sometimes for the fear of it making me cry.
Okay.
But it's on my list.
I recommend that, and I also recommend the Documentary Now episode where they lampoon Company. Yes, they do one. They do a show called Co-op, and it is fucking gold. Like, Mulaney plays the Sondheim character. I think he's the Sondheim character. Who, like, he just gets in somebody's head. He's like, here's how you say that. Now she's going to say it wrong, but it's not my fault. And that kind of thing happens almost exactly in the. I mean, it's just really they're so dead on. If you've never watched any documentary now, they really hit the spoof.
I really like that show. I was about to say love, and I realized that was too much because there are episodes of it that I think are fantastic, and then the rest of it is kind of like, this is for someone who gets this documentary.
I think that's it.
Tommy Gunn. You guys want to film me?
So, what were we talking? Oh, we were talking about Ladies Who Lunch. That's right. So, I guess what was this episode about? What happened in this episode?
This episode, we meet Mel Silver, David Silver's father.
DDS.
DDS. We have to always say DDS. We meet him because poor Jackie gets a rogue bone in her chicken salad and breaks a tooth.
Yep.
And then in the not weirdest meet cute, but in, a very odd, cheesy meet cute, Jackie and Mel get together and she's coerced into a date as payment for the surgery, as happens in 90210. And then
in the real world, you mean, as happens all the time in the real world.
Oh, sure. That's definitely happened to me. And then for the beep, well, obviously Kelly's not very happy about Jackie going out with Mel and has problems with that. And then also Brandon decides or is also coerced into being a big brother and finds out this kid is being abused and inserts himself into a subject that he has no right in being part of.
Yeah, it's the Felix storyline is a tough one. Yes. So let's hold off on that and let's talk about Jackie and Mel. So I like the meet cute. Even though Mel is a total dork.
Oh, yeah. He's not creepy. He's just like, exactly what Kelly says. This guy? You believe this guy?
Yeah. I mean, not only, although, like, props to him for asking for some crazy glue and Brandon bringing back rubber cement. I mean, God bless Brandon.
Someone has to.
That's some dumb right there. But I like that Mel's just straight fucking around with people.
Yeah.
But then, like, they go on a couple dates, and there's a thing Mel does that has always bothered me in this episode, and it's so little. But it's when he comes to pick Jackie up for their second date, and he brings her the flowers. Or maybe the first date, and he brings her the flowers. And they're white tulips or whatever the fuck. And she says, "Oh, you shouldn't have." And then he pretends to take them back.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Like, not that it's unrealistic. I think it's kind of a perfect character beat for him because it shows, like, what a cornball he is.
Oh, yeah.
But I just maybe it falls into the same category as why I don't enjoy There's Something About Mary or Meet the Fockers or whatever, Meet the Parents. Yeah. I just don't like it when the comedy comes from this guy is a big dope. Like, who just doesn't fit in, and, like, you're just kind of, like, making fun of his lameness, I guess. Like, I don't find that super funny.
So then you probably really hate the Gary, Terry, Larry part of Parks and Rec.
No. I do kind of like Jerry and Terry. I think it's weird that they keep changing his name. I wish they just left it as Jerry the whole time.
Yeah.
No, that's a different kind of joke. That is I don't understand why, but everyone in this office treats this guy like shit.
Yeah. Because you need a common enemy.
Yeah, and he doesn't care because he's married to Christy Brinkley, and is doing real okay.
Yeah.
I mean, normally she's not his type, but no, it's where the character is um, painfully awkward,
Got it.
and that because it just I'm like, oh, it just I don't know, it makes me feel bad. I just don't like it, and that's what Mel is in that scene. He's just like, oh, he's trying to make a joke, and it's a bad joke, and he doesn't even play it that well. He's like, oh, well, then I will take it back. Like,
I mean, that's. I feel like that's perfect for David's dad, though.
it is. It just I don't like it.
It's
Like,
fine.
yeah, I mean, I think it's the right character beat, but I hate that character beat.
That's
I
hey,
think it's really what it is.
I get it.
Yeah. So, they
I thought they did some weird stuff because you made a great point in one of the text messages we were sending back and forth about, like, I guess there's clearly going to be a shift in how we see David now or how he's written, because while David hasn't been creepy, I would go so far as to say he has low-key been harassing Kelly
mm-hmm.
by constantly filming her
Sure.
and getting in her face,
Mm-hmm.
not respecting her no, or noticing the fact that this is not an enthusiastic yes, maybe I should back off.
Right.
And having some crazy, heinous theories about women's sexuality. Like, thank God he, we can just rely on the fact that, well, like, he's young. He will hopefully learn. But so I think the trouble I had with the David and Kelly part of it was she apologizes to him at some point, and I thought, no, I don't think you owe David an apology.
Yeah.
Like, they did the whole thing where we're gonna have her, like, I could see her apologizing to Mel, maybe, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Kelly was in the right on a lot of this, and she didn't owe David anything. David, if anything, should have been like, oh, hey, I didn't realize I was creeping you out this hard. I'll stop.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, but I do think she should have apologized to everybody because her behavior at that restaurant was abhorrent.
It didn't go far enough.
Really? Okay, say more about that.
Okay, so I mentioned to you how my brain went on a dark path.
Right. But wait, I just want to clarify before you speak of this dark path. This is what you wanted to happen? Like, saw it and you went, it actually should have been that horrible thing I was thinking.
Actually, no. Okay, I'll stick to the restaurant right now. I feel like when she opened up her bag, I thought she was going to pull out a cigarette and just start smoking in his face.
That probably would have been okay, but
and really, again, lean into being a bitch. Because, I mean, all she was doing was being very frank about stuff. Yes, she was making it uncomfortable for everyone, but I don't think she really said anything that was too abhorrent. They were a bunch of uncomfortable truths that no one wanted to deal with over dinner.
I mean, she did say, isn't this the place where so-and-so got food poisoning before they even sat down? Like, that's a little...
perfect time to mention that.
But if it's not true, like, if she's just shitting on everything, which it seems like she is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everything out of her mouth is calibrated to make this unpleasant.
I thought she was going to come out like, well, yeah, this would have been, no, not around the same time. But anyway, I thought she was going to pull a Michelle Tanner and come out dressed like a biker child to scare off this man.
How rude.
Wrong child, but still. I
don't care.
I know you don't.
It was an appropriate comment to a Full House reference.
Wrong kid, right show.
There you go. And right sentiment.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't dress like a biker chick, ever. I mean, come on. We've seen that. Hashtag Justice for Tuesday.
I was also kind of looking for, a Parent Trap reference, but, reverse it.
There was a
Uh,
little bit reverse Parent Trap, although you couldn't get David on board. But we derailed you from your darkest thought.
oh, that's okay. So my darkest thought was as Steve and Kelly were having a discussion about this, and she goes, "What am I supposed to do?" He goes, "Well, what you have to do is going to take a lot of guts." And I thought, oh my God, he's going to tell her she has to like slip Jackie something and get her off the wagon. And it's going to be terrible. She's going to be a raging alcoholic around Mel. And that's so not
It's
it at
real dark.
all.
No,
I've seen too much TV.
that is a. I mean, I'm not going to say that's not a more interesting choice because it certainly is interesting.
It's terrible.
But it's so fucking dark. I mean that feels like what I imagine happens on Euphoria.
Yeah, that's the Euphoria version of this. That's
Yeah,
the. Honestly, I feel like Dawson's Creek would go there. Near the
even
end when
Dawson's
everything was
Creek.
burning.
I guess I just feel like even Dawson's Creek wasn't that dark. Um, although Dawson's Creek dark. I mean, it's fucking Dawson. Um,
Emo kid.
yeah, yeah. I I think that's a different show, but I would enjoy watching that show potentially until I went, no, this is too much for me.
It would
Um,
have been too much, especially because like we want Jackie to be clean. We want Jackie and
mhm,
Kelly to have a good relationship.
yeah.
So it would have gone against everything we actually want.
So speaking of Jackie and Kelly's relationship, do you think that like I feel like you think Kelly has a point with her not wanting to like share Jackie with Mel.
Yes.
Um, okay, I don't, but go ahead and
Okay.
tell me why you do.
Because I keep seeing the image from Perfect Mom where she's climbing through the doggy door and, having to do things that healthy children don't have to do. And so, you know, while I totally get why Jackie wants to date and doesn't want to be alone, because in a few years, Kelly's going to be moved out off to college. Like, I just don't think it was fair of Jackie to. Yeah, I'm hitting the desk lightly this time. I don't think it was fair of Jackie to turn her mother daughter evening into
Hmm.
a third date, like involving them. It's like, honey,
Yeah.
set boundaries, take it slower. Like,
Hmm.
I get it, but again, like Kelly and I'm sure all of your doctors have said, slow down.
Yeah. I think you're right about the third date part. I think rushing into having the kids meet the other person is that feels like that feels like something that single parents tiptoe into.
Yeah.
Like they don't jump with both feet into that part. I do think that part is a little bit rushed, and I think Kelly has a point about like this. We were supposed to do something tonight, and you sort of sold me out to hang out with Mel. I think all of that is fine. I think what underlies it for Kelly, at least what she says underlies it, is like she just wants her mom to herself for right now. And, I think that, while possibly natural, is selfish.
Okay.
And I think that, like, Kelly needs to understand that her mom is allowed to have a life. Like, as far as we know, Jackie does not have a job, so she has a lot of free time, and most of Kelly's time is spent not with her.
Yeah.
So is Jackie just supposed to sit there and wait for Kelly to come home and hang out and not be on the phone with Brenda or Donna or whatever? Like, no, Jackie gets to have a life. That's fine, and the expectation by her child that she should not have a life because it's not what the child wants is selfish and shitty. There's an in between where you don't like bring your daughter on your third date because we all know what's going to happen on that third date. You know, especially if you're rocking with Mel Silver DDS. I mean, Kelly, like the presence of Kelly and David on that third date, I think really threw a monkey wrench into Mel's plan.
Yes, it did.
And probably Jackie's too. I think Jackie's down.
Yeah, I think you make a good point because it kind of sounds then like Kelly wants Jackie to be available whenever instead of just like, again, why don't we have a scheduled time? You do your thing. And you would think that by this point, bad habits and all, Kelly would be used to Jackie having her own life. Like, Jackie's had a life when she wasn't sober, but now she's having to figure out what her life is sober. So it's like, she definitely can't just be sitting around all day.
No, I mean, this is Kelly's second junior year of high school, for God's sake. Like, this is, she's not 12, she's 17 at minimum. So Kelly should be old enough and mature enough to understand that her mom needs a life. And she can approve or disapprove of Mel all she wants. I mean, like, he is a giant cheeseball. And, I mean, he's doing well, I guess. But so he can, afford to take them to very nice restaurants and things. But, she did watch the initial hit.
Yeah.
And I think that there's no way to watch that as a kid and not go, ew.
Yeah.
Like, even if it hadn't been like, I'm going to blackmail you into a date just to fix your tooth. Like, even if it had been something like less borderline than that.
Yeah.
It's still like, there's no way to sit back, because even if it's not your parent, I think if it's just someone and you're out with them and you watch them get hit on, it's always cringy. You're always just like, whew, I don't know, did that worked? I mean, all right.
Right.
So I could see it starting off on like the yick is possible foot for Kelly. And have your opinion about Mel. That's fine. I don't care. And wrap it up with David. I understand her not wanting to become entangled with David in that way. But I do think that by the end of the episode, when she apologizes and he gives the, your mom's been divorced for a while and my parents just, like, the ink's not even dry. I'm glad my dad likes your mom, but I wish he liked my mom more. Like, yeah. That's David is exactly in the right space in this episode. His reaction to things is very understandably David.
Yeah.
Like, at first he's like, Vodio-do, me and Kelly gonna get to hang out more. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, this will be fun. This, double date. I get to go out again with Kelly under circumstances that she's not really super thrilled about. But,
yeah,
I got a second date, I guess. First we went to the coffee shop and watched Brenda open her soul on stage. Yep. And now we're at a restaurant with double dating with our parents, which is,
and might be potential step siblings. Like,
right. Yeah. So he's like excited to begin with, but then when it finally gets around to it, he's like, yeah, this isn't as great for me as you seem to think it is.
Yeah.
And that moment of connection between Kelly and David is where she's like, yeah, you're right. That part sucks. I'm really sorry. It's hard when you realize that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's I think that's very sweet. And it does that thing that I was, mentioning, which is it brings David in a little bit more. And, we'll see, I guess, how that unfolds and how in David gets with the group over the course of this year. But I don't know that there's a future to David just being off to the side creeping.
No.
For like another season of the show.
I mean, I think from the fact alone that he's in the opening credits
Right.
alone tells us get invested in this character.
Mm-hmm.
And, the last conversation, especially before the horrible Bogart impression,
Yeah.
it was touching. It made us care about him.
Yeah. Yeah. And almost more importantly, it made Kelly care about him.
Yeah.
Because so far, like, it's not clear that anyone really likes David. Like, Steve puts up with him. But now, as of this episode at the beginning, Donna's like, he's not that bad. Like we did that scene together. I got to know him a little bit. He's not that bad. And now Kelly's gotten to know him a little bit, and he's not that bad.
Yeah.
And, he came to the poker game and was a total weirdo, but they were all play acting that they were, older and able to go to poker games and smoke cigars and drink and whatnot. And he was just given the poker face thing, which was very stupid.
Everyone tolerates David.
They do. But in this episode, we see a couple of different people more than tolerate David.
Yeah.
And I think that opens some doors a little bit, which is nice. And also they named the episode after him, even though it didn't make any sense.
No, it did not.
So, So we've talked all this time about Jackie and Mel, and we have not talked about Felix.
Nope.
And it's because I hated this storyline. Like, I hated it a real lot.
How come you hated it so much?
Because I used to work in education. And I have dealt with things like this as a professional.
Shit. Okay.
And it's very hard watching someone who doesn't know what they're doing fuck around in this space. And it would be nice if this storyline happened and the resolution of it was that Brandon more fully realized how out of his depth he was.
Yeah.
And not that the bumbling that he did into these people's lives seems to be fine, because now Felix is in a group home. And Brandon's only question is, how's the food? I mean, I don't know. I don't like. So this is the second time that Brandon's dealt with a kid. And it's not going to be the last time. They do this shit, and I hate it. I don't like. I mean, maybe I'll be proven wrong the next time a kid comes to town, but I don't think so. I kind of hate it anytime the storyline is Brandon interacts with a kid to save their life.
Yeah, because he's not equipped for this at all.
No.
None of these kids are. But so a parallel I was thinking just now as you were talking was this would be akin to if instead of talking to adults and calling the cops, Brenda had instead intervened and tried to stop these boys from attacking this girl and putting herself in danger. Because that's exactly what would have happened. She would have also been in danger then. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, Brandon put himself in a dangerous situation here.
Yes, he did.
And so for one thing, that made me want to slap him silly.
Mm-hmm.
As me, and also quite frankly, I feel like I totally would have understood if that parent had hit him.
Well, I mean, she fucking wails on her own kid. Why not somebody else's?
I know, clearly you don't have a problem hitting kids, so I don't know why you wouldn't, or why you would stop at someone your own size. But, so obviously that part irritated me. But then the fact, too, that the resolution was so clunky. I'm not saying I'm not saying all of that could not have happened. I'm saying it could not have happened that quickly and with Brandon involved.
I think that's true. Yeah. And not for nothing, but I texted you about this the other day. I was watching season 1, episode 3 of Moonlighting, and Suzanne was in the episode, fucking shooting a laser gun at David and Maddie. Like, this lady's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this, and you should watch this laser gun. It is some kind of something from 1985. So I just, what if Brandon? What if she had a laser gun? Is all I'm saying.
She probably still had one from her days on Star Trek Next Generation.
See, I mean, this is a lady who is out there just shooting folks, or I don't know, whipping her kid with a, I don't know, antenna or something. I don't know what caused. Maybe it was a belt, and
belt.
Punching him in the face, I guess.
I don't think they thought very thoroughly about his marks.
Yeah, I mean, they had to make one of them noticeable and one of them hidden. You know what I mean? So they gave him a shiner and, these whip marks on his back. But it's just, I don't love storylines about child abuse.
No.
Especially when the storyline is given to a well-meaning 17-year-old to deal with.
Yeah.
It's just, the stakes are too high for that kind of storyline, I think.
Plus, it drives me nuts how long it takes them to think, we should talk to an adult.
Yeah. And I want to stay on this, but I need to say, because this is something I think this episode might have also been about. So I'm going to say that we're switching to what this episode might have been about. And one of the things I think it might have been about was how dangerous it is to put people in situations without proper training.
Yes.
Because Andrea fast forwarded this for Brandon. You don't even have to go through all that Big Brother training. You can just show up tomorrow and deal with this kid. And there's a reason that there's training like that. Mm-hmm. And one of those reasons is something called mandated reporter.
Yep.
And this is something you know about, as you have substitute taught.
Yes.
So you were a mandated reporter. I was a teacher. I was a coach. I was a school administrator. I spent a decade as a mandated reporter.
Yeah.
And for those who are not familiar, a mandated reporter is someone who, if they suspect child abuse, or if they see signs of child abuse, not only are they encouraged to report it to, Child and Family Services at your local, state level, whatever it is. They're not encouraged, they're mandated. They have to. It's the law.
Yeah.
If they don't and something happens, they're on the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could be criminally prosecuted for not reporting what this is. And Brandon would know that if he went through the training.
Yeah.
And I did some Googling to try to figure out what who a mandated reporter was in 1991 in California, and I could not find that year specifically. And I could not find Big Brother, Big Sister listed as like a mandated reporter, but there's zero chance they're not. Like, you're working with kids who, if they need a big brother or big sister, are more likely than not in a precarious home situation.
Exactly what I was thinking.
So, like, Brandon, in fact, does not have a choice here, but he doesn't know that. And if he hadn't, and here's what I'll say, as someone who has had to make that phone call, it is hard to make that phone call because you do all of those things that Brandon is doing in his head. Like, what if he doesn't have another family to go to? He's going to end up in the system. Is that better for him than being in his home? Like, you ask yourself all of those questions, and then, like, am I putting myself in the crosshairs of someone who is unstable and may do something to me? Like, there's a lot of those things that happen when you're, like, put in a position where you think, I think we need to make this phone call. The fact that it's mandated makes that decision so much easier because it's not a decision. You have to. And because Brandon doesn't know he has to, he has all of this stuff and all of this advice and all these people he's talking to And he still comes around to, I'm going to go yell at this lady. And then he gets her to call a social worker. But calling a social worker is not the same as calling Child and Family Protective Services, which is what needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have ended up theoretically in the same place where she's getting help and he's in a group home for some indeterminate period of time. So all of the shit Brandon did was kind of harmful, ignorant of the law, incorrect, but still ended up in the same place, which is why I hate these kind of storylines.
Yeah.
Because it's the stakes, as I say, are too big. When you're talking about the health and welfare of a child, the stakes are too big to make it seem like stumbling through it and screaming at the parent are gonna work out.
Yeah.
You know, like when they went and did the breast cancer scare episode, they read pamphlets at us like it was dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
They very much wanted us to get the right message from this. And the message for this one is very wrong. And that's kind of why I hate it. Also, lack of proper training is at least in part why Henry's like, this kid can't hang around stealing French fries. Like, Felix was not trained to be a cabana boy. Like, you don't just have to be trained to be a mandated reporter. You got to be trained to be a fucking cabana boy. And Felix, he's creeping out the members.
There's also child labor laws. So,
well, there's that.
He's totally not allowed to be working there. He's not allowed to be helping out. Like, kids at that age don't have volunteer hours they need to complete. And if they do, I question it.
They do frequently.
Okay. You have to do it with an adult, right?
Not necessarily. Okay. Like there are like in Catholic schools where I have a lot of experience, 8th graders, as they're prepping for confirmation, have to go and do service hours. And these are 13-year-olds. And oftentimes that service hour could be at the local high school helping out with something. You know, you can get service hours for going and helping at the local high school. And you could theoretically be supervised, at least directly, if not, like, I'm sure there's an adult around. But you could be, like, working with high school kids.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. But that's different than volunteering to give rich people water at the beach. Like, I'm not sure you get service hours for that.
No, because you're not helping anyone, although I'm sure the rich people appreciate it.
Everybody needs hydration.
The adults are not staying properly hydrated. You know that.
That's fair. Yeah, no, they're dehydrating actively.
But yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from with how aggravating it is to see a storyline like this handled so poorly, and yet it's given the proper outcome, if you will, if you want to say it's proper. It's given a healthy outcome. Even though it was dealt with so poorly. Because, you know, in all truth, in a real life situation, Brandon would have been hit.
Maybe.
Or at least.
Like, she could have pulled out a gun or a laser.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, anything could happen. This lady's crazy.
She could have put a cigarette out on him.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I just the whole thing bothers me. And so proper training required is, I think, one of the things that this episode is about.
In all fields.
In all fields. Yeah.
All fields, people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you're going to be a chicken, you should be trained to be a chicken. Yes. And not just thrown up there in front of the class and made to preen and cluck and whatever Andrea had to do at the beginning of the episode that made her so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Did you feel like a duck?
I felt like a fool. I did enjoy that. That was pretty funny. So what else might this episode have been about?
I'm going to go through my thought process of it, because
Oh, good. I like that.
I like my initial thought, which is I feel like this episode is about struggling parents, struggling single mothers doing the best that they can, but inadvertently or sometimes advertently harming their kids in the process. Because,
Sure.
you know, you have Jackie, who is a recovering addict,
Hmm.
and she's doing her best for herself, but also to do right by Kelly, and unfortunately makes the not not great decision to go on a third date instead of being with her daughter, who needs that
Hmm.
time. And then you have this mom who is going through, we have no idea what kinds of hell, but clearly
Hmm.
is going through it and struggling.
I mean, she lives in Reseda, for God's sake. That's where the Karate Kid moved to.
Oh fuck.
That's
I
that's
don't
in
know
the
anything.
valley. That's for the poors,
Oh shit.
I
Okay.
guess. As far as I know, based on the way that Allie's family looked down on Daniel LaRusso because he lived in Reseda, I'm assuming that Felix living in Reseda is like shorthand for he's one of the poors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But she's trying. She wants her son to be, looked after,
Hmm.
and and have some kind of normalcy, or at least be kept busy so that she can do whatever she needs to do. And unfortunately, because she is struggling so much with, again, we don't know what, she takes it out on her son, as
Hmm.
many people have before.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it, but it's terrible. And, we have to, I'm going to feel some empathy for them. Again, I'm not a parent, so I can only speak so much to this. But that's what I initially thought this episode was about. And while I still think it holds a kernel of truth, tapping my little gavel, I think in an even worse and sick, twisted way, this is
Uh oh.
Hollywood trying to tell us that women, you better get married, because if you're single, you're going to become an addict. You're going to hit your kid. You're going to make their lives hell. Get married.
Get married. Ah, that is dark, and I like it.
It.
I like it
Listen,
when
I've
we
been in a
when
mood
we
all
look at
week.
this. Well, I mean, good because when the outcome is 90210 is telling us that single women need a man, that is that's that's Jeff level bullshit, and I
That's
like
a
it.
bar.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean so let's think of the other women in the episode then. Um, Brenda is full on
Tripping
ready
out.
for Dylan to come back. Yeah, I mean, she is. I don't know what kind of mushrooms they're putting in the salads that she's making with Cindy that need garlic, but she is seeing shit, and that shit is all Dylan centric. Like Brenda, she gave it a shot, and she's made it a month where she's been kind of single, and she's like, "Fuck that! I need my man."
She wants her man
So
back.
she
And
does.
while it didn't work with this episode, there have definitely been moments where Cindy struggled to get used to this new area, to feel comfortable in this new
Mm-hmm.
town. And I think with that struggle, kind of forgot she had a daughter at times,
Mm-hmm.
as did Jim, because
Yeah.
need we forget, they kind of all attention on Brandon, no attention on Brenda until she almost died.
Right. Exactly. Well, he was running for class office.
Oh my god, I don't give a hoot.
Yeah. I mean, that's important. That's work you can do there.
But yeah, but
Um,
clearly, you can, when you're a teenage girl on a show,
mhm.
and it's feminist to have that character take some time to
Mhm.
herself and just be, but
Mhm.
not without a man in the wings.
Yeah.
They
Who's
did
like
this with
calling
Joey.
her?
They've
Yeah.
done this with many others, I'm sure, but it
Mhm.
made me think of Dawson.
Sure. Yeah. It's um the so this episode is Brenda had some hallucinations in this episode, some dream sequences, and so did Kelly.
Yes,
And
okay. The fantasies were all unhinged.
yes, I wanted you because you're a big fan of the dream sequences in this show.
Yes,
How nuts they are. So I wanted to let you talk about the just weird ass dream sequences we had in this episode.
Well, dream sequences plus
Or like delusions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in just like one Dylan moment that was real, but also like, what? How is this?
Right.
So they were great. They were, oh my God, just steaming hot movie theater cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first one when he's like, "I miss you, Brenda. I miss you too, Dylan." Like
where he appears out of like
he's running
in the kitchen. Where
No,
like all
not
of a
that
like he's
one.
not. Oh, I do like that one where like all of a sudden he just and there he is. He's just in the kitchen. Say a couple lines and then he's back on again.
I loved the I'm gonna call it a spoof. I love the spoof of the From Here to Eternity kiss that everyone has been trying to recreate since. I couldn't help but watch it though, as of course as a choreographer, because I was like, how's this looking? It looked good, but I felt like Luke was holding his left arm, which would have been his upstage, like out of camera arm. I feel like it was definitely bracing him and Brenda so that they didn't get like moved by the waves.
Yeah. It's a
that was a cold day on set.
Oh God, yeah, I bet it wasn't pleasant. I had a thought about it, but then it sort of ran away. So, and that's fine. But I do think it's a very funny. Oh, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking, I hate sand. It's so coarse and it gets everywhere. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
So Anakin, not a fan. Anakin would not
trade
places for Luke. Yeah, he's not enjoying From Here to Eternity. I bet Anakin watched From Here to Eternity and just fucking shut it off. Because I'm not watching this shit anymore.
He destroys the viewing device with his lightsaber.
Yeah, or just with the Force, crumples the VHS, because I'm assuming it's a VHS tape of From Here to Eternity. Just crumples it using the Force. It's so coarse, it gets everywhere. And he's not wrong. Anakin's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Like sand gets up in your business and it's not so great. Just saying.
But yeah, and then on the completely opposite end of nightmares or fantasies, we have Kelly having a daymare about what living with David Silver would be like, and he's all in her lingerie trying to sell her stuff.
That's you know what that is? I'd be shocked if they weren't making kind of a direct 16 Candles reference there.
Oh.
Where he gets her panties for some floppy disks. Like that's very much on brand for a Farmer Ted kind of David Silver, I think. But you know what I noticed at the beginning of this episode, and I wrote it down, is this is the first time we've seen Kelly's house. Like
we saw it in Perfect Mom.
Not this house.
Oh, okay.
The perfect house, the Perfect Mom interiors were way different than this. You're right, we did see it in there.
They were a little different, yeah.
That foyer with the silver door.
Yeah.
That's new.
Yes.
And if they're building that set, we're going to come back here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Kelly's bedroom, we've seen her like flop around on a bed, but I don't know we've seen like the bedroom layout. So I think we're establishing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that this episode was about, was establishing things that we're going to expound upon. And I think that's what the first 5 episodes of this season have been. It's been a lot of setting things up that we're going to track over the course of the season.
Yeah.
You know, like the Jim and Dylan relationship, has like had evolutions over the course of these first 5 episodes. The Brenda and Dylan relationship, uh, David is becoming more normalized.
Yeah.
Like there's more interactions there now. Jackie and Mel are a thing, and we're in a, and I think the show may never get out of this because I can think of pretty late episodes that have like a random ass single episode storyline, and then there's all these other cross threads that are happening while that's happening.
Yeah.
But that's what we've got here. We've got like the Felix thing, which is, I mean, as I texted to you earlier, Felix like, Brandon, where were you? You didn't come visit me here. I thought you abandoned me. And Brandon was like, not yet.
Yeah.
Give me 5 more minutes. Show me the cafeteria, and then I'm peace out, and we're never talking about you again, Felix. But that's not what Mel and Jackie are. Mel was not a one-off. He was a beginning of a story.
Yeah.
And so we now have laid the groundwork for some things that have the potential to last the season. And that, I think that is interesting about this episode. Like, I often thought of this episode as the first serialized episode.
Interesting.
Because it's because of the David and Mel of it.
Okay.
Like everyone else has had relationships that like come and go.
Yeah.
Like I've got a relationship, break up, you're gone. Like literally every woman Brandon's ever met. And like lots of other people, we've had teachers that have been around for an episode and gone. Kyle was only here for an episode, although spoilers, Kyle comes back. So they've started signing people to like 6-episode deals because they've got a storyline they want to do with them. They have an idea of an arc. And that's a big change from season 1 where there just were no arcs. But because of Mel and Jackie starting something up and David becoming a little more normalized with people, and those are things that are beginnings. And the Jim and Dylan stuff is a beginning.
Yeah.
And so I think this episode does a pretty good job of setting things in motion, which I like. I much prefer this show as it tells longer stories. I still think all of the stories are fucking stupid, but I love them. I mean, I think that should be clear at this point. But for me, this episode is a start the ball rolling kind of thing.
All right. Side note, I'm so glad you were talking through all of that because I don't know if you could hear, but someone's car alarm was going off.
Oh, I heard it a little bit.
Oh my God. I thought someone was hammering my head because I was trying so hard to focus on you. Oh no, it's happening again.
Yeah, I can hear it. It's pretty faint.
That's good.
Yeah, so sorry that it's blowing your brains up, but
it's okay. You'd think I'd be used to it at this point, but there is no getting used to this place. But no, I agree. Like, there's clearly, I don't know how, but there's definitely, maybe it's just from talking to you, but I feel like as I watch it, you do get a sense of they're settling in a bit more, and the storylines don't feel as flippant as they did in the first season. Yeah,
I agree.
Although anytime a girl or a child comes into Brandon's life, now I'm going to be like, they're going to be gone.
Right. Yeah. Although we're going to see different things along those lines, at least a little bit. So, season 2, I told you I was looking at the episode titles, and I was like, I had like distinct thoughts about every title I saw at a glance. Like I think I was underselling how much better season 2 is than season 1 because of how much I enjoy season 3 with senior year crap. But there's so much shit in season 2 that is going like to make your eyeballs bleed.
Oh no!
You're either gonna have like rage or like you may go gray in parts, just like with this shit, or you may be horrified, or I mean, there is so much stuff that happens in season 2 that I'm very happy that we're finally here.
Well, I
And
mean,
we're almost out of summer. So, but go ahead.
no, I was just thinking about because the intro to the show. I don't know if it's going to do this every season, but for most shows, it'll show clips or snippets from the upcoming season, and you're like, "Ooh, what's that going to be?" Or "Why is he doing that?"
Right.
And Brandon has 2 distinct ones that I'm like, I need to know where this is going. One is the slow moving down of his glasses at either the most gorgeous woman in the world or the most heinous thing he's ever seen done on a beach. I don't know. The other one is him. It looked like he was kind of gliding up into the screen, but I know it's probably just him running and velocity moving him.
Yeah, we've actually seen that. It's a first season clip, and I don't remember what episode it is because in my head, I always associated it with General Art of Listening, but it's not from that. It's from something else later in season 1, where he like runs across a parking lot or something.
Okay.
But yeah, we have seen that one. But the glasses, I do think you'll see soon.
It's also been very hard to not. I've been trying not to read the little blurbs on each episode, but it's a struggle because I mean, we have an episode in a few weeks called Ashes to Ashes. That has to mean someone dies.
Okay.
Not someone we know and care about, I'm sure, but
yeah, I'm not going to say anything other than Ashes to Ashes is some bullshit.
Oh no!
Oh, it is some gigantic tub of buttery microwave popcorn bullshit.
No!
The entirety of Ashes to Ashes, and Vivica A. Fox guest stars.
Ooh, okay.
As does Richard Roundtree, better known as Shaft. Damn right.
Nice.
So wait till we get to Ashes to Ashes. Oh.
I mean, I'm psyched about that one, but also Camping Trip, which I'm very upset is not next week. I was very disappointed when I realized there are episodes missing from Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So so be warned, guys. Next week when we get to Pass Not Pass, that one doesn't seem to be on Paramount Plus, so you may have trouble finding it. But don't worry, Leslie will be able to watch it because I have all this shit on a hard drive because I'm a sick puppy.
That is so strange. Like, I know when Boy Meets World was in syndication on Disney Channel, there were episodes they wouldn't play because it's Disney and they're hyper parents.
Right.
But this is a streaming service.
Yeah, there's an episode from season 2 that almost always got skipped in syndication, and it was because it was a 90-minute episode, so they couldn't figure out how to put it on TV in syndication without screwing up the rest of their schedule, so they just skipped it. But like, I don't know why Pass Not Pass would not be up there to watch. I get potentially why season 2 episode 8 Wildfire isn't up there, and it's a music rights thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, so like there's a pretty big musical piece to it, and I could see if they hadn't clear it, like how do you even show the episode? But it's one you need to see. It's an important one.
My God.
So, but we've got it on the ridiculous hard drive. So
Brenda's going to survive a wildfire like I survived the wildfires of 2020 in Portland.
I am not saying anything at all about anything, listeners. So I'm just not saying anything.
I can't wait to be wrong.
I'm not saying anything. Is there anything else that this episode might have been about?
Lord, I hope not. It was about a lot of things.
It was about a lot of things. All right, so let's move on to Nostalgia Corner then. What did this episode make you nostalgic for?
Oh gosh, I feel like I had the perfect thing. I might need to think a minute if you want to go ahead.
I do have one.
Okay.
And it's not payphones, not directly anyway,
Okay.
because payphones are gross. Um, I do really like, checking the coin return slot to see if you can find a quarter. Like, I'm big on that still. Um, and like, that's maybe the thing I miss most about
Mm.
having payphones readily available. But the thing it made me remember was what passed for child safety when you are Gen X is, obviously we did not have cell phones when I was a kid. We didn't have the internet when I was a kid, so there wasn't an ability to like turn on a Find My and drop it in your kid's backpack and now you know where they are all the time, or like see where their phone is or whatever. You didn't have that option, and so like if you got stranded someplace, you're kind of screwed if you don't have a car or whatever. So what I was always told was take a quarter and get a checker, from a game of checkers. Because most of the time the checkers are a little ridged around the outside and you can fit
Uh-huh.
a quarter right in the indentation. So you put a quarter in the checker and you just tape it. Just put some clear tape on it. And you can toss it in your pocket, toss it in your bag, whatever. It's a little heavier. It takes up a little more room, so it's easier to find than just like a random quarter, which is why you put it in the thing. But that way, if you ever got stuck someplace, you had a quarter and you could make a phone call. That was child safety in the 80s and early 90s. And so it made me a little nostalgic for my red checker with a quarter taped in it.
Wow.
Yeah, you see, these are things that I'm sure you didn't have a red checker with a quarter taped in it.
I did not.
Yeah,
I
the things
barely
you
got
missed
to
out
go
on.
anywhere without my parents. So
Mm,
by the time I did, cell phones were a thing.
yeah, not
Um,
me. I made it through college before I had a cell phone. I knew one person in college with a cell phone.
wow.
Yep,
You're so lucky.
that I'm so old, but
I don't know if I'm necessarily nostalgic for this, but I was at least reminded of, hey, call your mom, let her know that uh, we're about to head over and drop you off, or like um hell, even once I finally, even when I did have a cell phone, I mean, my mom was pretty cool about not making me have a curfew. She was just like, just let me know when and where you go. And there
right,
was maybe one night where this was the like Friday or Saturday night of spring break in high school, and I called her when we were heading to the last place, and she was like, "Don't you think it's time you came home? It's almost 1 in the morning." And I was like, "All right."
and I'm
Like,
getting tired, and
I know. I'm sure she was like, I can't go to sleep until I know you're safe at home. And also, like,
yep,
she knew before we did, nothing good happens after 2 a.m. So,
only trouble,
only
only
trouble.
trouble after 2 a.m.
That's all I can think of. I'm envious of the little phone nook that they had. I want
Oh
that
yeah,
now.
sure,
Why are you whining? Do you want to come up here? No.
little dog Ember.
Little Lambo. But that's
Alrighty,
what I got.
so that is as good as anything. I'm glad it wasn't that you're nostalgic for that move where you pick up the phone and then you hold down the thing so that you're not actually on, but you can pretend that you're on, and like then no one knows that you're not really calling your parents for permission because like that's bad girl shit. You don't want any part of that.
Oof, no, I was too scared of my mom to do that.
There you go. Well, there you go. That's a good lesson, kids. Don't do that shit. Felix was wrong. Probably deserved to get whipped. Not really.
Ah!
Not really.
Nope.
Just decided to go a step too far.
Yep. It's fine.
All right. So, who is your nominee for this episode, Steve Sanders' Worst Person of the Episode Award?
Just because I am not a parent, I don't feel right saying it's his mom. I'll leave that for you if you so choose. I'm going to say Brandon because he is very close. Like, he's definitely
Yeah.
up there. Like, the way he handled all this, just Sir, what gives you the right to talk to anyone that way?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
17, your heart is in the right place at
Yeah.
times, but please, for the love of God, talk to an adult first.
Yeah. And you can tell that Leslie means it because she's beating the shit out of her desk again.
I'm going to break this desk one day. Good grief.
Yeah. You're going to have to stop doing that because clonk, 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 Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong. There's some kind of noises happening over there.
I have a lot of feelings.
I suppose so. Yeah, for me, the worst person of the episode is Suzanne. It's just like it's another one of those, like the girl who wears that shirt that looks like a bra but isn't a bra but is a bra is the worst person because she's the one who committed a felony.
Yeah.
Like that's how this one sits for me. Like Suzanne is the person who beat her child.
Yeah.
And that's just not. It's too heavy.
Yeah.
Like for one
Never
thing,
okay.
no, that's just bad. It's just bad. So that's the end of that, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah.
So I think we did it.
We did it!
Yay, go us!
Woohoo!
So join us again next week, Cheesemeisters, for season 2, episode 6, Pass Not Pass. There's things in this episode, and it's we're wrapping down summer, so which is right. This episode aired at the beginning of August. Next episode, middle of August. It's like back to school time. So
is this extended season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they start in the summer and they go all the way through the end of the school year. Yep. It's kind of like the last Harry Potter book.
Oh, okay.
Where you're like, come on, do you need to hold the whole school year? I mean, couldn't you have had the big battle at spring break? JK. It seems like we're just stretching shit out here. But yeah, no,
wonderful.
This show follows the school year.
All right. Cool.
Got started early. So we have so much more season 2 to go. But until then, Cheesemeisters.
Bye.
Bye.